Okay, now shake my hand again.
And our next speaker is Jim.
Thank you
very much, Jim.
Thank you very much. So I'd like to talk to you today about a topic that's near and dear to my heart, and it's websites. You might be thinking to yourself, websites? That's so late 80s, early 90s. Haven't we moved on? Isn't this the era of Facebook and Twitter and stuff like that? And you would actually be correct. You're exactly correct, right? You know, social media, of course, is something that's very, very important to everybody. Businesses, schools, and individuals use a lot of the social media tools that are available to us to communicate with people. But one of the things that we need to think about, and one of the things that we have to sort of consider a little bit, is what's the best way to reach people and provide information to them? So it's an interesting point, right? And really what it comes down to is, what are you trying to tell them? Now, in the world in which I work, one of our customers is schools. And you think of schools as where you send children get educated, and the children come home, and that's sort of the end of it. And you would be partially correct. The challenge, of course, is that a school is an entity that provides a service, education of children. In order to be successful, a school needs parents and guardians to be involved in what's going on at the school. The parents and guardians have to support the educational process for it to really work out. What that means is that the school has a lot of information to communicate to parents. When does school happen? What time does it start? What time does it get out? What days is school in session? In Hillsborough County, where we live right now, turns out Mondays are half days. You only go to school for half a day on Mondays. It's like, oh, okay, well, you know, that'd be important to know, especially if your kid's coming home, right? And so elementary and middle schools have lots and lots of things going on that they need to communicate to parents. They love it when parents come to the school and get involved on different days, parent days and stuff like that. Let's not even talk about a high school. If you think about a high school, do you know how much stuff goes on at a high school during a given day between sports and drama and yearbook and testing and graduation, and the list goes on and on. There's a ton of information flowing from these schools that they desperately hope get to parents. So how do schools traditionally get in touch with parents? They print out a piece of paper, they give it to an imperfect communication device, the student, and then they hope that it gets home, gets into the parent's hands, and the parent actually reads it. Can you see the risk involved in this process, right? Okay. Well, a lot of schools have adopted social media, which is fantastic. But it does beg sort of an interesting question. Which social media? Is it Facebook with its billion users? Is it Twitter? Is it Snapchat? Is it Tinder? I don't know, whatever the right one is, right? The challenge is as popular as those services are, not every parent is necessarily on it or checking it, right? So, you know, you can solve some of your problems that way, but not all of your problems. And also, a number of those services, such as Twitter or even Facebook, you post something and then it scrolls away, right? And you hope that they'll scroll back and find it, but it's worked into their other feeds, and it's very easy to have your message get lost. So what's the best way for a school to communicate with parents? Guess what? We're back to websites. A school that has a website has basically a billboard that talks about what's going on at the school. The school is in full control of that billboard. They get to determine what gets displayed, what gets removed, where things get put. So if you have a message for parents, your school website is the ideal place for you to do it. The company that I work for is in the business of designing websites for schools. A little bit of a caveat here. Every single school out there already has a website. Web's been around for what, 10, 20 years at this point in time? Everybody already has a website. If you've ever taken a look at a website for a school, you'd be stunned at just how bad it is. The principal's cousin took a course in front page 3 years ago before he went off to college, and he made a website for the school, and it hasn't been touched since, right? So it's there, it gets updated with like, hello, welcome to school, and also, hello, last day of school is going to be on such and such, and that's sort of the end of it, right? The reason is because nobody knows how to update it, and it's difficult to update. So that's not really serving the school well. My company provides schools with a product that's actually very, very easy to update. So When a school contacts us and says, hey, we like your product and we'd like you to create a website for our school that we can update, the very first thing that happens at my company is we get our graphic artists involved, which is a little startling, especially if you've seen some other school sites, okay? Actually having an artist work on whatever the background is, the layout is, what the logo is. Basically, we produce a website that's customized to a given school. Now, in our particular area, we have a number of magnet schools. And what's interesting with a magnet school is a magnet school has something that they're very proud of. We're a math magnet school, we're a science magnet school, we're perhaps a drama magnet school. Working that into their design means that any parent or guardian who visits that school site is going to be left with the impression of what the school does, which is fantastic. Okay? The websites that we produce for schools uses something that's called adaptive design. What that means is that if a parent's looking at it on a computer, it's going to look like a fantastic and wonderful website. If they're looking at it on a tablet, it will automatically adjust to the tablet size. And of course, if they're looking at it on a cell phone, it will once again automatically adjust to look good on a cell phone. All the menus work out, all the drop downs work out, everything adapts to the display that's on it, which is important. If you've ever seen a website that didn't adapt, you're scrolling around, you can't figure out what's going on and stuff like that. Another interesting point about our particular websites is that if you're part of a school district and you have the authority to do so, you can with one login, you can access all the schools in the school district. You just have a drop-down menu, you identify the school, and bam, you're on their website. So if you're an administrator or a DBA or somebody who's in charge of what's going on, you can go from school to school to school very, very easily. Our websites for a school district talk to each other. It's not individual islands, but rather it's really an ecosystem of websites that come together, which is very, very important if you're trying to maintain a school district. We have something called a skin, which basically means that all the schools in a school district can have a common look and feel, which is important when you want parents who have children who go to an elementary, to a middle, and to a high school in your school district, they see a common thread throughout it. There's a lot more that we do, but the most important takeaway from this is that a school's website is a critical and vital communication tool, and every school needs to make sure that they have a good website that they can easily update. Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you very much, Jim. Making sense of the cacophony of school websites.
There we
So
go.
if everybody could please leave comments for Jim. And